Social life at Mahomet uh, wasn't much, but we had a lot of fun. I remember one particular time we had a picnic out at the Mahomet Cemetery. It was actually late in the afternoon, early at night, and the girls had brought sandwiches and soft drinks, etc. We laid the picnic sheet out on the ground and had our lunch, and then we began to play games, post office, and things like that. And it began to get pretty dark, and suddenly someone noticed this white object just flying all over the cemetery. Well, we didn't believe in ghosts, but there you were, faced with this white object flittering around the gravestones. Well, come to find out, it was one of the kids had a dog there, big collie, and he had grabbed that bed sheet he was using for a picnic cloth and was running through the graveyard. So that was the end of the ghost story. Another pretty common affair we had was a chicken roast. I'm sure they don't do this anymore. It's lucky we didn't get killed or arrested for it, but laws were different. The laws was on the books, but nobody paid much attention to it. The way it would work was we'd go all together down on a creek somewhere, and a couple of the boys would go steal a chicken, or maybe two, depending on the size of the crowd. Well, I was usually one of the ones to steal a chicken because I could run fast. And believe me, that was an asset. We didn't steal chicken from anybody that needed them. I mean, we didn't steal people's laying hens. But we would pick on the more well-to-do. And Charlie McCormick, I'll tell you more about that whole McCormick family in a minute. He was hit, I guess, more often than anybody else. Well, this one particular night we were having the chicken roast down on the creek near my house. So me and another boy went up to the McCormick barn, and we got two chickens. I had one, he had the other. And long about this time, they were digging underground silos. They were storing grain. It was about 4 foot deep, maybe 30 or 40 foot long, 6 foot wide. And they would put the feed, the silage in there, and they covered up with a very shallow layer of dirt. They sat there till they needed it, and then they'd uncover the dirt and use the feed. Well, they hadn't got around to covering this silo up that particular night, so we come rushing out of the barn. I had chicken, he had chicken, and we were making tracks, and we both fell in that open silo. Well, we didn't lose the chickens, but we smelled like a brewery when we crawled out of there. We went on and took the chickens back down the creek. Usually picked the creek because there was water available. Had to clean, take the feathers off the chickens. We were settling down to cooking the chickens and having a good meal. And of course you're a little nervous all this time because you have stole somebody else's property. We didn't really think we were stealing then, but anyway, we heard this horse, and it was closed, and we looked around, and there was a rider on a horse just off in the edge of the light of the fire. Couldn't make out who he was, and he disguised his voice and gave us a pretty hard time before we recognized that he was a boy a little older than us, but he had done the same thing many times before. But he put a little scare into us and then got down and helped us eat his chicken.